Hello, everybody. Welcome to a scene for New Serum. As we are in the aftermath of the court scene, as Renee has come home to Delarus and Tootie's place. She has set up, and she left before the two Malkavians. So once Tootie gets in, she dries herself off from the rain. Clearly, she puts her hair up in a bun, in a ponytail. She puts on some music, as you can hear the reverbing bass around the house, as she is wont to do, and immediately, while lighting a cigarette, will begin walking up to Renee's room to check on the young Gangrel. She will knock on the door and open it.
The courtesy knock is real. So yeah, she'll probably go ahead and pop over the door after knocking. In just time enough to see, Renee glancing over inquisitively, probably just opening her mouth to tell her to come on in. And she'll probably see Panacea's tail disappearing under the bed.
Yeah, that cat probably runs out the room really quickly to have run away from Tootie.
Yeah, that's why I imagine he'll sequester under the bed like, fuck this.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as she's within a certain distance.
Probably hissing, actually, quite violently. Because, unless she's Ghoul, she will hiss quite violently at Tootie.
He is not Tootie's biggest fan. Let's leave it at that.
Tootie
For the moment, it's just disappearing and the cat growls. Like, I don't fucking like this noises.
Tootie will just repeatedly stare at the cat under the bed. I knew that's gonna be a problem. Can you ghoul animals?
What?
Can you ghoul some animals?
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, we should close the door. Again, you notice she kind of stays to the periphery of the wall, afraid that Panacea is going to literally come out and attack her legs at any moment. Ghouling someone is giving them your blood, and they essentially become your helpers. They're quite special to people at times.
Oh.
Sometimes people ghoul people that they particularly like in order to keep them alive, or perhaps maybe set for the future down the line, say if they're older, one of us, people they'd like to make one of us, For example, you could ghoul your head of your department. That way he can help you in the future, if you get me. It's just that you just have to constantly keep them fed, if you get me,
Does it do anything weird to them? And she'll God damn it, Minicam. She'll pop off the bed, trying to coax Panacea out so she can just close him in the bathroom for now.
Yeah, Tootie will actually step out of the room as well while she does it, so it'll be an easier time for her. Sympathetically.
And yeah, she'll crouch down, coax the cat out, telling him to behave himself. That is no way to behave. And, but yeah, we'll coax him out, catch him up, and be muttering to him as she goes over to the attached bathroom because, well, apparently they're just fucking generous here. And she'll go ahead and set him down in there and tell him to behave and close the door.
She will then say, sometimes it doesn't really do anything physical to them. It's just that you have to feed them, if you get me, your blood for a consistent time.
Doesn't that weird people out?
They won't weird them out if you say put it in their drink and sip them,
They don't notice?
Once you ghoul them, they'll just want what you give them. Do you know what I mean?
I guess. It sounds really weird.
It can be, but I don't mean this will sound bad, but it's the only comparison I have. It is essentially, they're not quite a junkie, but they are dependent on you.
She kind of pulls a thoughtful face, and yeah, she'll pop the door back open once Panacea is closed up, and go ahead and walk back over and plunk down on the bed.
For example, say if a person has ridiculously bad back pain, and they now require that I have to take these meds permanently to alleviate such things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. They will need your blood on a consistent basis to keep them stable. Because if you don't, they'll get quite violent. Because they need it.
It's kind of a cringe.
But it's quite manageable. As long as you're sensible. And you can treat them incredibly well. And it will be like as if nothing ever had changed. They can help you with so many things.
And she'll sit there, scratch her hand for a second, and then start just kind of tapping a finger against, like, the wrist bone, where it's close enough to the skin to kind of make a tapping.
I've never had one myself. Mainly, I'm more of a self-serving girl. She's a smile. I like to do things myself. But I might try one day.
Yes. Would it make him okay with you guys?
I don't know. The best person to ask that would be a gangrel. I don't know. I was asking you out of curiosity to see if you did know. Because I've seen gangrel talk to animals before.
I mean, I can already talk to him. That's not a problem.
I can, so I wouldn't be the best person to ask. That would be someone you should talk to, a gangrel, maybe.
Yeah, I'll ask Daisy.
Just don't tell her why you're ghouling her, if you get me. Smile.
Kind of quirks a brow. I mean, I'm already not telling her I'm kind of staying here, so...
Just ask out of curiosity because, well, you can use them. You could maybe use a ghoul as a spy.
I mean, you have a point with the way I'm eating. If I get caught, I'm kind of fucked. Unless there's someone on my side, and it's not like I can tell anyone what I'm doing. Can you tell them what
Precisely.
you're doing?
You can and you can't. You keep it limited. So they know they have to protect you, but they don't know every detail.
But, like, once they're fooled, can they know you're a vampire?
They'll know. Just don't tell them everything, if you get me. Don't tell them,
I mean, I
like,
don't even know everything.
just don't tell them everything. Keep it simple, straightforward, you know?
Okay.
Don't give too much away because, say, for example, they could tell an entire person everything about you. Tell them enough that they need to know. That way they'll smile and go, yes.
What keeps them from just telling people anyways?
They won't, it's because they want to protect you. That's the point. Be specific with what you say.
Oh.
Tell them that it's a secret. Tell them that it's this. Tell them that it's that. Keep them always knowing but never knowing too much, if you get me.
Yeah, okay. Probably make getting the shifts I need easier.
Just smile and nod. It's little things like that.
Yeah.
She'll
Kind of blinks a couple times, eyebrows popping up thoughtfully. She's obviously kind of taking the thought and running with it.
and she'll walk over and sit down on the bed. I just was checking in on you.
Not me?
Mm-hmm. Your first Elysium was a unique one, so I wanted to make sure that you were okay.
I mean, it's scary. It's different, but I guess I'm kind of getting used to it being scary and different and weird.
You sure you're okay? It's never easy to see what you saw.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's it's weird. It's like Alice in Wonderland weird, where things are weird and they don't make sense, but they kind of do in a backwards way. And it's kind of like walking through something like that. Like it's a dream where people, you know, die or almost die or turn into dust or shrug, like just kind of waves a hand. Um, but very quickly, it goes back to idly tapping against her wrist bone.
Trudy will shift herself up the bed so she's literally right beside Renee. They're probably lying there right beside her.
Yeah, if
I
she
used to feel
flops over, Renee will too.
I used to feel like that as well. When I first was around, yeah.
I feel like this is what sleepwalking is like.
Not really. Just a smile. This is more of being underwater and coming up for the first time.
I think I liked it better underwater.
You do sometimes, but it all depends on your perspective of everything.
Like, do you ever just wake up and everything's just normal again?
Just smile, yeah.
You do? Like, the brows knit. She kind of shoots a sharp glance aside, like, huh? It's very
hmm
clear that this is the opposite of the reaction or answer she expected to get.
Some days, lately, I've gotten better and it used to be quite frightening, but I've adjusted to the world around me and certain things I've done and certain things that I have created to make myself safe. It's made things a lot easier. And now my reality does feel normal because I've made it that way. It's because that's what everyone does when they're frightened. They make it that way.
And she gets a bit of a look about her, puts her eyes back on the ceiling since they're flapped back.
I'm not frightened anymore, though. Let's just say with a smile. Not anymore. Not for a long time.
Be nice if I could just wake up and go back to class.
That's wishing for something that can't happen anymore. And that's understandable. So look over at her. There are different things you can do. Different things you never thought that were wholly possible.
It just seems like more waking dream stuff. Kind of go along with it. It makes its own kind of sense, but doesn't seem real.
That's because you haven't let go yet. Because you're not going to. I'd be shocked if you let go so quickly.
I don't want to.
She'll smile. And it's not the way you think I mean let go. Right now, you're more terrified than anything because you don't know what's about to happen. Does it all make sense? You've seen things that are far beyond your mind's comprehension. Because, let's be honest, Renee, did we ever really think this was all real before we were brought into it?
I have never seen someone wake up as if pulling a knife out of them suddenly just undid everything.
That is a stake, yes. That if that goes to your chest, it paralyzes you.
Not like the old school wooden stake thing.
Yeah, it doesn't kill you. It just, but it has to pierce your heart. But it paralyzes you, so you're aware but not quite there. If you get me,
It's fucked up.
it isn't. It isn't.
Yes, it's better than Buffy style exploding into ash when
Well,
someone stabs you with a hunk of wood.
there's always that. She'll say, smiling. Like I said, There's a lot you saw tonight which probably some of you was not ready for. And that's perfectly healthy.
All things considered, is Tootie actually looking at her, or is she also
Mm-hmm.
just kind of looking up the ceiling?
Nope, she's looking right at her.
Oh, well then she will get the warning of eyes welling before it just kind of like it's not theatrical. There's just mild spillover, and she'll have at least one tear trickling down the near cheek or from the corner of her eye down back towards her ear.
Trudy will sit up very slowly and like spread her arms. Like almost immediately, it's almost reactionary. She just doesn't whip Renee around, but just very slowly turns her so she literally hits Tootie's chest. And the hug is incredibly tight and very warm, and you know what I mean. Even despite Tootie being cold herself, it's you can tell there's a lot of affection behind it.
And yeah, she doesn't protest. The only real gesture she makes is she kind of quickly raises a hand to wipe her cheek, kind of stubbornly as she's pulled up, because, well, she hasn't learned many things, but she's certainly learned already that her tears are not gonna just, hit a fabric, surface and disappear. They're gonna leave stains.
Hey now, it's all right. It's okay to cry.
Just give a kind of that horrible thick snuffle that is how people's faces kind of everything feels just thick and full right before you start crying. There's that kind of loud, thick snuffling noise. And she gives her head a tiny shake in protest.
I cried too. I cried a lot. It's okay. Crying is not as bad as everyone says.
I wasn't ready for any of it.
No, of
Way
course you're not.
before the court thing, I wasn't ready for any of what happened. I was just trying to go to school.
I know. None of us were ready. Nobody was. Even if they said they weren't, they're lying. No one was ready for what came next.
And she doesn't mind being gathered up. And she'll even preemptively lift a hand, this time like wiping under the rim of her eye, trying to kind of prevent the tear from getting out in the first place. And hmm. She's not tapping on her wrist anymore. The position doesn't really lend to it, but she is still curled up now with her hands. Once her hand falls back down against the other one, the thumb starts again rapping idly on one of her knuckles. Crying doesn't help.
It does. Sometimes crying makes you realize the things that you missed and understand, but also it gives you an emotion you didn't think you had anymore.
Why wouldn't I have it anymore?
Because sometimes this entire life is so hectic and chaotic that you often forget about the little tiny things that creep in your head. Sometimes you forget because you're so preoccupied with all the new things around you that you forget that a part of you still in there calls to your humanity, plus what you are.
And again, she's staying kind of stiff and stubborn. It's the, big girls don't cry face, essentially. And she'll still be nested up against Tootie, and perhaps there's a It's a considerable pause as she rolls the thought around in her head, tries to decide how to let it out. Goody, I don't want to hunt anymore.
Why is that?
I'll use the bags, they work.
Why?
Because you make excuses to why it's okay to do that to someone, and then the next thing you know, you make a mistake. And then you make excuses for making the mistake even after it happens over and over.
And if that's what you think this is about, then you're wasting your time, Renee. Making excuses. Have I ever told you to make an excuse? No. There will be a time, yes, where someone will die because of you, whether directly or indirectly. And it will be horrible. Trust me, it is. But you will learn. And you will learn ways to avoid. And you will learn ways to be careful. And you will learn that killing will only be done in the matter of survival. I don't kill people for the sake of it. I only kill when I have to. When I need to protect. That is my role.
I don't want to kill at all.
That's like saying I don't want it to rain.
Like, you can
Don't.
say, I'll feel bad now and I'll learn now, but what happens in 100 years after you've messed up over and over for one reason or another reason?
And that's like trying to predict the future. Again, what you have seen, and I can tell you this because I know Lily. I knew her. I tried to help her. She didn't listen. She thought the exact same thing you did.
And look what happened when she messed up.
Because she didn't listen. She didn't teach herself. She didn't want to. She just chased and ignored everyone and cut everyone. Because she let it win. Because she caged herself away to the point where she lost control. When she never taught herself how to control.
I'm not going to starve myself.
You just want to pretend like it's not happening when it is happening, Renee.
I just want to find another way to do it.
There isn't another way. I wouldn't lie to you. I don't lie to you. I tell you this because you have such potential not to be a better kindred, to be a balance between. If you need me to roll, I will.
Watching you. No, I won't make you. If nothing else, Renee doesn't have any real reason to disbelieve you. If she's not looking for lies.
Just stroke her face.
But do you know anyone who's ever tried?
Yes. Her name was Lily. And look what happened. I know plenty of people who have the illusion that they're doing the right thing. And then they don't. In fact, they cause more damage than anyone else. For example, that woman who shouted and screamed. Valerie. She did more damage to Lily than anyone else. It was because she gave her the illusion. She gave her a false hope to make Valerie feel better about herself. Because she criticizes one thing and then expects everything to change when she doesn't understand. I know Delarue struggled for a long time with himself. And now look at him. We've all struggled, Renee. But to lie to yourself, that's the greatest thing you could do, greatest, worst thing you could do to yourself.
I'm not lying. I just want to minimize the risk. I'm not going to starve myself. I'll still eat. I'm just.
And right now, you're not just minimizing the risk, you're increasing it. Because you'll get comfortable, and something will happen, and then it all becomes toppling down.
Just have to manage until I'm working with Dr. Delarus.
And what Delarus will tell you the same thing I'm telling you. And he'll tell you in a much more stricter way because that is Delarus. He's had to learn.
Why does it matter so much as long as I have enough?
It matters because you need to learn. Right now, in these times, there are going to be conflicts. There's going to be a lot of struggles ahead. And sometimes you're not going to be always able to get the thing you want, the thing you normally use. Sometimes you're going to have to think outside the box. And it's better to establish and learn how to do it the right way and train yourself. It's better to know a whole room than just one aspect.
There's another kind of thick, obnoxious snuffle, and she'll reach up, wiping at her face again. I don't want to kill anyone, Tootie.
She'll sit her up, so basically they're both kneeling in front of each other, if you get me.
Yeah, she again, she's not putting up any real resistance to being posed and moved around.
Neither did I. I still don't like killing people. Do you think I enjoyed what happened to Lily?
No.
I disliked Lily immensely. But that was a child lost. And everyone failed her, including herself, and that's what they don't like to admit. But that was still a child lost to the world. And she did the right thing, killing that woman. Some would
Why?
say. That woman was cruel. Lady Catherine was a cruel woman. But she broke the rules, and she, instead of breaking her bond, she now damned herself. Vengeance can be a terrifying thing, Renee.
Is Catherine her mother?
No. She took her in under the guise of kindness and made her a slave, and would beat her and bring her into the court beaten. Tied her to God, as it were, and removed all her sin.
And no one did anything?
Lily chose to go. I tried to give her one way and she refused. We all tried to help. And then Val, she was a smile, very bitterly. Val did what Val does best. Isolate Lily from everyone. In order to make Val feel better about herself. Lily Renton had many hands to offer for help. But she betrayed and spat in the face of many of them.
I'm not trying to spit in your face, Tootie.
I'm not saying you are, sweetheart. I'm saying, listen to what I'm telling you. And it just starts with one mistake and one misguided direction.
Can't I just try? I promise to be honest if I'm not getting enough, if it doesn't work.
Whatever you wish to do. If you don't take my advice, you don't take my advice. I'm not going to force you. I can just only advise you because I've seen more. I'm not saying this out of bragging, but I have.
You know, did
So
Dillers ever try to use specs?
he hates them.
I
The
hate them
taste.
too.
The taste. It just made him hungrier and hungrier.
I hate them. They don't make me hungrier.
Eventually they will.
If it gets like that, I'll tell you.
No, you won't. Just say standing up.
Her brow kind of knits.
I didn't tell Delavers when I accidentally killed someone the first time. I hid it all away from myself. You don't tell people things the first time. You do something that you know you probably shouldn't be doing. You don't want to hurt them.
I'll tell you before it gets to that.
Will you?
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't want to be a murderer, Tootie. At least if I tell you, you'll go with me.
Don't believe what Pod said. Pod is a liar and a fool. Pod is a hypocrite who has killed many good people, innocent people, for sport. Of some misdirected, delusional self-righteousness. Pod doesn't deserve a thought.
She get real sharp like?
Oh yeah, she almost hisses. Like you can see the venom in her voice.
Yeah. Not considering that Tootie has stood by now, Renee just kind of shifts. Perhaps not with a lot of thought to it, but nests herself up against the head of the bed, the headboard, pulling up her legs.
I'm gonna roll some allspecs on your ass.
That's not very nice.
I fail. I just show the roll. I got a 9 and a 1, so I fail, so I don't see shit. But I hate allspecs too sometimes. It's a bitch of a thing. But what she will do is then she'll roll some P&E. And I will show this roll. So leave my rolls. There we go. So that's the Auspex roll, and that's the P&E. So 1, 2, 3, 4 successes.
Okie dokie. Is she looking for something in particular, trying to ferret anything in particular out, or is it just general assessment?
General assessment first.
General assessment. Considering that many successes, she would feel fairly insightful to it. Renee is distressed. She's upset. And yeah, it's pretty obvious, if only because of the sharp reaction, that whether or not she is a fan of Podrick, spoiler, she's not. Some of the things he said have kind of gotten into her head. And the lashing out has kind of or just the severity of the response has kind of startled her a bit, has definitely set her back on her heels. So, yeah, doing the whole thing of curling up, like pulling her legs in, it's definitely a kind of a withdrawal.
Tootie will walk over very tenderly and will attempt to push the leg down so Renee has to look into her face, if you get me. She'll do it very gently if Renee allows it, of course.
She hasn't like hidden her head per se, but she's definitely kind of got more closed body behavior. But she can easily like reach out and catch her chin or something and turn her head without having
Yeah,
to pull her
essentially,
apart.
essentially that's what she does. I'm sorry. It's just Pod took a lot of things from people.
And she will quickly again reach up, wiping a tear away before it can get very far down her cheek. As her head's turned. I mean, it's easy to tell he does bad things. He walked in with someone bleeding all over him.
And don't believe a few reasonable points made by a man who wants you to believe him. He wanted you to doubt yourself. Because that's how he operates. He gets in and burrows his way in and makes you question.
It's not even about whether I'm on this team or that team. Just being what we are. Aren't we going to murder people eventually?
She'll actually stare at her like, she'll have the expression, I know, I've told you that. But if you notice by the way he smiles, he relishes in that and wants to blame others for his misdoings because he cannot face himself in the mirror. He will forever blame everyone else for Podrick's choices. Forever. Whereas I have killed people. I did not take any enjoyment out of it. I took no relish. Their deaths were, some were clean and some, due to the nature of the situation, were not. But I've never enjoyed it, and I never will. But I've had to. Does that make me a bad person, Renee?
And I feel like that's a reasonable time to roll P&E.
Yeet. 2 successes I'll share. Because I'm a good boy.
You are the best boy.
Yeah, I got two successes, 2 sevens.
Actually, yeah, that wouldn't apply to that. Oh god, my brain. I believe my perception empathy is pretty poopy. It is. I'll roll it. 4, 10. Tiger's the defender. And I will.
I know. I was rolling P&E, not Manip sub.
Oh.
I was rolling P on Renee. That's what I would
Gasp.
No, you can read Trudy. She didn't enjoy it.
Go.
Um,
Just to be fair.
Yeah, she did not. She did not enjoy killing people. She had to. You get that impression, definitely. She had to do it, but she took no relishment out of it. You got the impression that it was part of her job. Renee has heard that Tootie is a hound, and you would figure the hound has probably been put into some extreme situations.
I mean, let's face it, they met with Tootie, you know, one step from having her guts out of her body. So.
Yeah, exactly. Renee has probably seen Tootie has probably had to fight some hard push situations. So she probably has definitely, killed people, but by the blink of her eyes and the soft smile on her face, she's taken no relishment out of it. It's just, it is what it is. It's not nice, but it is what it is.
And you were rolling peony as well?
Yeah, I got 2 successes.
2 successes. I'll say she's a little more thoughtful than Tootie might expect her to be. She's not just caught in a wave of emotion. She's processing and she's rationalizing. Um, she might even get the impression that she's being a little on the quiet side, holding something in or holding something back.
Tudia stared or waiting for a reply.
She kind of flicks a hand up helplessly, shaking her head a bit. It's just fucked up.
And is that all you want to say, or are you trying to hide something? You're too afraid to say it. Because it's just fucked up does not seem like the answer to what you really want to say.
It's not the answer, no. And she weighs it for another couple seconds, lips kind of pursing in to form a bit of a line. The bomb wasn't real.
Why am I not surprised? Do you know how pod kills people, Renee?
He told me it's a wire.
He wrenches them back and then laughs in their ear so they can feel it. And normally he does it when they're in the moment of anger, so he can savor that last breath. I'm not surprised by that because that is Pod's strategy. He was wanting us to charge at him. Wanting to see, wanting to show us what we truly are in his mind, which is a mindless, chaotic machine, bent on one thing and one thing only. He wanted to see himself in us.
That why always pops up so close.
Exactly. He's forever looking for that reflection of himself, and he'll never find it.
It's like a really messed up Cheshire cat.
Like a dog trying to chase its own tail. You don't hate a creature like that. You pity it.
Yeah.
For he is, in himself, blaming others for the way he was made, the way he chose to be. For he did choose.
Did he get to choose?
Oh, yes. You don't. She'll smile. I'll tell you a story, Renee. She'll interlock her hands. When I went up to New York to fight with Dom and others, a building was brought down, with many people inside. Myself and a few others were quiet and solemn, for the deed was what it was. Horrible. But a few others laughed and grinned and smiled, because in the end they only cared about one thing and one thing only: themselves. That is Pod. He wants his redemption, no one else's but his idea of it. So he can show the world that everyone is just like him because he can't know himself.
I'm surprised there aren't more people who are that fucked up.
There are. They're mostly on the enemy, and they're somewhere deep in our circles. But the ones in our circles hide it very well. Because they have to. But they're there. But they chose to be that way. They chose the world they made. They could have gone any direction they wanted to, but they didn't. They chose to hurt children. They chose to hurt everything.
But they
Same way
didn't
as that.
choose to be like this, did they? We didn't.
No, none of us did. But we chose what happened afterward.
Kind of not surprising if you think about it. Some people wouldn't be able to cope.
Is it?
She kind of shrugs.
Or is that you trying to justify someone's own messed up nature based on one incident? For example, is Daisy like that?
Doesn't make what they do okay.
It doesn't. But you trying to justify it by blaming it all on one singular event is quite foolish and quite naive.
That's like saying that anyone who suffers from PTSD or flashbacks is wrong in doing so.
No.
It's a massive change. It could be considered a massive trauma. Think about it, it's not okay. It's not right.
So then all Malkavians then are mad. All Malkavians who suffer what we suffer. We're excused. Is that it? By that logic.
Blinks, recoils even a little bit. What?
What you're saying is, you're kindred now, so, well, I should understand. No.
No, all I'm saying is
All you're saying is very similar to someone who doesn't know what they're talking about.
I didn't mean it like that.
You meant it like that.
No, I didn't.
Don't hide from it.
I didn't mean it like that at all.
And that's what you came out with. That's what you chose to say.
I don't think anything bad about your Delars.
That's what you chose to say.
I don't feel like it's fair to twist my words like that.
It's how people would twist your words. I'm choosing what you said to me because now you're essentially justifying everything what Pod's done based on the fact that he was embraced.
Just said it wasn't justified.
But it's okay though because he's a kindred.
I didn't say it was okay.
Who could blame him?
I didn't say any of that.
Do you know exactly where he came from, what he did? What he's
No.
done? Well then, don't make such a broad statement, Renee. That's like
I never
saying,
said it was okay. I said it wasn't okay. I even said that specifically.
She'll twist her head and blink. What's not okay?
The things he's done. It doesn't justify any of it. It doesn't make any of it okay.
But then
There are
you
people
don't.
who do terrible things. They suffer from all sorts of maladies, but that doesn't make what they did okay.
And then, so you don't want to be a murderer based on that?
I don't want to be a murderer because I don't want to be a murderer.
And what happens, Renee, if myself or Delarus or Daisy are in a situation where we're probably going to die? And it's up to you. Would you kill?
Make the same choice I would have made before.
And what was that?
Just because I don't want to kill doesn't mean it's not necessary sometimes in really unlikely and extreme situations.
Unlikely situations. That's the first notion you have to get out of your head. It's going to happen.
People will fight to defend themselves and the people they care about. That's kind of a given,
But then, by that logic, you're a murderer. Aren't you not?
Yeah, guess so.
Or maybe you did what you had to do in the situation. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it wrong. But you did what you had to do to survive. To make sure that the people you care about were safe. Is that wrong?
It's a lot different than the other point. But
But
no, it's not wrong.
Val thinks it's wrong.
Has Val ever had someone killed in front of her and not done anything about it?
Yes.
Then I guess that's up to her and on her conscience.
She doesn't have one.
If she didn't have one, she wouldn't care about killing.
She thinks she has one. It's all about herself. That's the difference. You see, and this is probably why I struggle to talk to you. Not because I don't like you, it's just like smiling. I was embraced in a war, Renee. I had to learn quickly. And I know you won't yet, but you're going to. You're going to have to. I don't want to teach you how to kill people. I don't want to teach you. I don't want to do these things, but I have to. Because then you have to protect yourself. You have to be safe. Because nobody else is going to do it for you. And the ones who do, you'll lose them before you even realize. I didn't get the chance you got.
Must have been hard.
It was. I found Delarose. And he took care of me. But it was very hard. I was very scared. And I don't want you to be scared like I was.
And for what it's worth, for the entirety of this conversation, especially at its most, she's still anxiously tapping a thumb against her knuckle, against her knee. Kind of as an outlet for nervous energy. Maybe she's just fidgety, whatever the case.
So what we're going to do, I'm going to start teaching you how to shoot and how to handle yourself. In return for that, you can give your blood bag technique a try. But when the moment you feel like it's not quite good enough, you tell me straight away. You try it for a month.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Nothing crazy, right? Like firing range and.
I'm going to teach you how to load, assemble, reassemble. I'm going to teach you muscle memory. And I'm going to teach you how that muscle memory reacts in a stress situation. It's very important. I'm also going to teach you how to handle yourself. I'm not the greatest with martial arts or anything, but I know the basics. I know how to take care of myself.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to teach you how to use a knife.
Her lips kind of firm into a line. The first sign of protest thus far.
Some of us don't go down quite easily from a bullet. And sometimes you have to get up close and personal. Now, I've experienced what your clan can do. So, the second you start growing those bone things, I won't be as worried as much.
I don't know how.
I'm assuming you'll learn. I don't know either. I just, yeah, felt them.
Could ask Verity.
Sure. There is another thing I did want to ask you.
Hmm?
Toulouse. Would you keep an eye on him for me?
Isn't he part of your group?
He is. I'm just a bit worried about him.
What are you worried about?
I don't want to seem like I'm overbearing with him. He's checking some things up in Fletcher Corp, and I'm just a bit worried about him.
Yeah, I'll let you know if something goes weird.
Has he spoken to you about it?
Me and Daisy were going on about it.
Really? What'd they say?
I don't know. She finally relaxes a bit because this is a little more. This is a much easier subject on her poor mind. And the tapping doesn't stop, but it slows down to idle kind of fiddling. Something about how they had some sort of, I don't know, some sorts of energy that had no chemical waste. Doesn't make much sense.
Hmm.
Now it could power all the way up to New York and into Canada if it really wanted to.
Interesting.
But he didn't seem to know how it worked. Now Daisy really wants to know. She's been doing a lot of research.
I see. I see.
It's easy to find her now. She's just always in the chemistry books, always at school.
Hmm. I see. Did Toulouse seem concerned?
No, not really.
Hmm.
Curious, maybe, but he wasn't worried.
Is he going to meet them again?
Yeah, he's gonna take me and Daisy.
Oh, that's good. Would you do me a favor then, Renee?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
It just seems really hush hush. If you're gonna ask about what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Would you mind telling me everything you see in that place when you come back? I'm sure Toulouse will tell me, but
As much as I can?
as much as you can, sweetie. I trust you. Besides, it's always good to keep the police updated on things, right?
Well, yeah, but what does some sort of generator have to do with that?
Let's just say I'm investigating someone related to Fletcher Corp, and she might have a tie to it, and I'm trying to figure out something. So any information would help me greatly. And I don't want too many people knowing because the girl might get alerted. I'll be talking to Toulouse anyway. It's just I'd like a fresh pair of eyes looking in on it for me. And I trust you, so would you
I
like to
don't
help?
even know that I'll know what I'm looking at, but
Just
like I said, I'll tell you as much as I can.
that's all I want. That's all you need to do for me. Keep an eye on things for me. And she'll pat her hand. You know what? I'm gonna roll something, Katie.
I am going to be sassy in a second once you're done rolling.
Gonna roll that charisma empathy. And I will screen share because 2D actually for once did really well on a charisma empathy roll. The gasp.
The gasp.
That is 1, 2, 3 successes. Look at that.
Madness.
3.
Three
First.
whole successes.
Mm-hmm.
She will be pretty effectively reassured that this is harmless. Though, she'll finally take up a weak sort of smile. It's a favor. Does that mean I don't owe you for Verity anymore?
No, I need Verity is very important. She actually say quite seriously.
Well, no, but that I wouldn't owe you for calling you anymore.
She'll smile. Yeah. No, we'll call that even.
Okay.
Just stroke her hair. Now you get some sleep, okay?
Yeah.
And tomorrow, we're gonna have a day in. We're gonna watch some TV. Make things a bit normal for a change. We're gonna call in sick to work.
I mean, I've never done it before now. Sure. Got a spotless record.
Well, flu is a terrible thing. She'll say, getting up smiling.
Suppose so. We don't get sick though, do we?
No, we don't. Not usually. So, never heard of anyone getting sick. She just walked to the door and turned to her. I'm glad you were honest with me about everything.
Sorry for creeping off.
It's okay. I'm not angry with you. You can tell me anything. You know that?
Yeah.
Even if you have to snap at me. I won't mind.
It's an idle head shake. It's not that it's beyond belief, it's just that she doesn't want to entertain the idea that she'd need to.
I'm sorry, sometimes I get a bit flustered.
You just clearly feel ways.
I'm sorry for the other night as well. Delores told me you were panicked. It
You
was
okay
just,
though?
it was loud.
Yeah.
It was very loud. Sometimes.
I'm sorry if that was my fault.
No, 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 no. Not your fault at all. Just sometimes I am. You see her rubbing her arm. She like stops and looks down. She looks decidedly uncomfortable then.
It's okay.
Sometimes it's just things don't always look the way they used to. You know?
Yeah.
It's not because of you.
I just don't want to make things weird.
You're not. You're not. I just had a bad day.
Okay.
She'll give her a smile. We'll actually walk over and give Renee a hug. Very genuinely, like very reassuredly. Like she seems relieved that Renee understood.
Then yeah, she is at least open and very sweet about giving her a hug back. Probably matching her for whatever pressure level she goes for.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
You better let the cat out. I'll make a dash. And she starts hurrying towards the door and closing it sharply.
Then yeah. She'll let her escape and then go ahead and get herself up, scrub her face again, and go over to the bathroom to pop it open. And of course, Panacea explodes out because he has been complaining and scritching at the bottom of the door and poking his paws under. And yeah, she will catch him up and just meander back over to the bed, flop down with him resting on her chest. And truth be told, will just kind of indulge her own little bit of self pity for a while, just laying there, hugging the cat, petting him, murmuring to him like barely audibly even. And actually lets a handful more of those just stubborn tears leak out. Again, not theatrically, not loudly, just she's been holding back the whole time, so she just kind of lets them go. But I think with that, you could probably call it a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you next time in Girl Talk, New Serum.